Hey, it's Don. We're going to look at some updates here on print ads. We're going to go over some of the business cards that were sold. And then I'm going to show you a few other items here that I've talked about, but there's many different varieties or versions of that we're just going to touch on real quick as well. Now, I'm only going to be showing you items that I sold today to address and talk about these issues other than the print ads. We're going to hop over to print ads right now and start with the update on those. Okay, so we're in my hub right here in the store. I have had actually 4 different offers all together on items in this section. They were lowball offers, so I didn't take them at all. I've got 2 lots up here. Which ones were it? Hang on just a second here. It's the Quack Medicine lots in here. Okay, so now on these 2 here, I had offers for each of them for $14.50 each for each one of these offers, which is less than, geez, it's way less than even one of these would sell for. I did counter back at $29.99 on these 2. It was the same person trying to get them both for $28 total. I'm in no hurry whatsoever to sell these. Now, if you wanted the money, you could have sold 2 more if these were yours and got 28 bucks more back out of just these 2. Now, I also had an offer on the Radium one. They offered 10 bucks. It's a real low offer. I countered back at $32.50 on this one. It has some watchers, as do a couple other ones. So at this point, I'm in no rush to sell these. Now, if I flooded it up with some more print ads, I would sell a bunch more right off the bat, I would say, or at least have much more interest. These are all centered in on just very specific categories. A lot of print ads will be long tail. I've never denied that at all. But at this point, you know, I sold the one. I could have sold 3 more. It would have been, what, $38. So I would have been back in the green again, another 38 bucks on these. I could have dropped them down and just blew these all out. If I put these all up for $9.99, chances are I'd be able to sell them really quickly. And I may just do that for a test. I may run these over to an auction, delete these, run these over to an auction just as you see them for a $9.99 starting bid. Now, print ads. If you do those types of auctions, I can almost guarantee you on these sorts of print ads, I will sell a couple right off the bat at $9.99. It comes down to your time, whether you need the money or not. So if I wanted to get another 100 bucks out of these, I could just blow them out at $9.99 as an auction. I could have accepted those other offers as well for $38 total and, you know, been up on these 2. But again, I'm in no hurry to sell a specific one or not sell one. It's not really an interest to me to rush and blow them out because, yeah, sure, I could have got 28 bucks back out of them. I could sell one of them for more than 28 bucks. So, you know, it'd be like giving away more than half of the potential on something. If you need the money, though, you want to flip some of these, you can just start listing them as auctions for $9.99. You're not going to sell every one, of course, but you'll probably sell a fairly good chunk, 20-30% possibly at that price. So that's my take on it. You can do it however you want. Some of these are on sale, some are not. You know, some obviously I've even had some questions on, some interest in, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm not just going to give them away. I don't want to be perceived as, you know, lowball store, just everything's lowball. Now, after these been up for 3 or 4 months, I may run them as a auction. In fact, I may just run them as an auction this week and just see what happens. If I do run them as an auction, I'll let you see it. This is just going to be a test if I do that this week. Only because, again, I don't really need to sell these right this minute. It's all up to your preference on how quickly you need something, you know, the whole works. So anyway, now let's move over to the business cards aspect of it. Okay, so now let's get into the business card aspect of it. Now, I listed a few other ones. I had quite a few, obviously, Chinese-related business cards. I still have a whole bunch I haven't even touched. Right off the bat, I sold $300 worth, which was, what would that be, 4 business cards. So prices range from $50 all the way up to around $70 for each one of the business cards. This is one of them right here. Again, I'm in not a huge hurry to sell these. A lot of it comes down to like the name of the business and the location that this business is in. Now, this goes for U.S. business cards, too. If I had an opportunity to buy some from California or, you know, New York, California would be on the top of my list no matter what. Every time. I would grab up pretty much any California lot of business cards, even postcards, photos, anything. California stuff is still hot. China stuff is extremely hot if you get vintage China stuff. We've made, geez, probably $10,000 in just this year, just on China stuff. Maybe 15 or 20. I don't know. I'd have to really go back in and look on it. I know we've sold a few Chinese items for $1,000 plus per item. I've sold some IDs for 500, 600. I've sold a bunch of business cards, a bunch of photos, a bunch of postcards, a bunch of labels. So it could be close to 20 grand maybe we've done on just China stuff, vintage China. Here's another one. This one you should recognize too. This one was from the ones that I showed me listing up just the other day. Now, I didn't get $145 for them. Somebody came in and offered me basically $300 on 4 cards. Now, again, I marked them up 3 times. So $50 or so is what I expected to get out of them. I got that or more for every single card that I sold. Again, 3x. 3x is the key here. Even on this one here, I think this one, yeah, this one was the almost 71 because of the back on here. It shows a scene of the business district in this town in China. And that's why this one went for $70 or so. Again, that's more than a third of what I would say I would get for this. So divide my total in the third. That's the price I would hope to get at the very bare bones minimum on these vintage items here. Obviously, I'd love to get the full price, and in some cases, I do get the full price. It's a game. It's a game as far as I can say, and you're in this to win. If I priced everything cheap, there's a possibility that the right person wouldn't be on, and I wouldn't get $50. Again, that's why I say, like with the print ads, you'll sell more print ads at a much lower price any day of the week, of course. But I don't need to rush to sell them. I don't mind having a lot of inventory up, again, because these are going to be pushed out all over the place. So it's not just going to be on eBay at the beginning of the year. Again, this is my whole process. This is what we're looking towards. So if it sits on eBay, I'm not rushed to sell it anywhere. When the items start showing up on 3 or 4 extra sites, that's when it's going to be more exciting and fun for us, I would say, too. Now, here's another one. Nothing super fancy on this one. This was the one I was talking about, the porter. This person's a porter at the Astor House Hotel. I got, I think, almost $60 for this one as well. Again, a price is always negotiable in my book. That's my take on it. So I took over a third of the price that I have it listed for. Sure, I'd love to have gotten the 120, 125, 145 out of this one. But when you look at it, there's no Chinese characters on it. It's an oddball thing. How many people are going to want to invest in this? And this actually was sold to someone here in America, so that was even a bigger bonus for me. Whenever I send something overseas, it's always a concern when they're high dollar value, which a lot of the Chinese items are, if I'm going to get taken. But in all honesty, I've never been taken from anyone buying stuff from us from China or any of the area over there in Asia in general, so I ship over there without any concern most of the time. Obviously, if it's a $1,000 item, I may have a little bit of a concern, but you know, $50 to $60, $70 a card is just awesome on these. This one I put lower. Again, I may have been able to put a little higher on it, but it's got a ton of writing on it. It's very basic as an overall business card. Had it not had all of this writing on here that does not relate, it's even hard to read. I spent a few moments here trying to check it out, but either way, the end of the story is here. It got us in $300 for those. And on top of that, this same person bought this label here. So I'm very happy with the sale. When you can sell, you know, $360, $370 to the same person in one lump sum like this, I'd far outweigh trying to hang on to a bunch of items at this point. I always give a decent break when someone's buying multiple items. And again, with this one, I'm getting more than 3x. So let's say I sent out an offer to a watcher on this item. Let's say I sent an offer to them for $130. I would allow countering, because even at $130, they may come back with a counter offer of $80. And I'd probably take it. Again, because I don't expect to get the 175 out of this. I don't expect to get, you know, 85. I don't expect 145, 145, or 175. These are starting points, jump-off points of hopefulness. And again, if I don't leave room in there, let's say I priced them all at $50. There's no way I could have sold them at 70 if they were listed at 50. I've got best offer on them too, so I took a best offer as well. So if you don't want to have people counter, you can turn that off. but I don't mind. I've got it all figured out into my price. Those who have bought from us before know that I'm fine with messing around with the price, giving them a better discount. Now, if someone's been buying from me for, a year or two, I give them an even better discount. I might drop it down to the third just because they've been purchasing every other week or whatever the case for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And I have people that have been buying from us for that long. Obviously, if you're new, that may seem a little odd that you'd have that type of people. But, I know a lot about some of my customers. I not just where they live. I know grandkids and all kinds of other things because I pay attention. Some of the folks who buy religious items, I've changed my rules just for them with, when they can pay. So try to bend over backwards for those who keep coming back and buying from you. If you're not selling, many items in the same category, you might not be used to that. But a large chunk of our sales now are people that keep coming back. Most of my customers do come back if they're collectors. My feedback's, very good. I try to do whatever I can. I work with people. I work with them. I ask, what can I do to make this right for you if there was an issue? What can I do, to help you out here? Do you want to buy more? I'll give you a better price if you buy more than one. Anything. Just start talking to the people. Far too many people don't even mess with that, which is, kind of sad that that's how it is. But anyway, now let's look at something else here. Now, I talk about menus all the time. I sell menus constantly. A menu can be a postcard. If I run into any postcard that's a menu, it's like $34.50 to $57.50 immediately. I don't care what it's for. There may be one exception, like a Delta Airlines menu card. I usually put $19.99 or so on those, depending on the date. If it's 40s or before from an airline, it's going way, way up there besides that. Now, this is an interesting one. This is a Thanksgiving menu. It's not technically a postcard, but it's the exact same size as a postcard. It was actually acquired with postcards. There are postcards that are menus. Anything menu size that is the size of a postcard, I price pretty much the same way. Now, I purchased a whole mess of stuff from the USS New York. Uniforms, buttons, a few pieces of the ship, tons of newspapers, which you've been seeing me sell. Now, this is a different area, and I've sold a couple of these already. I've sell the airline menu cards. I sell anything steamship. One of my most expensive menus I ever sold was from the SS Lusitania, the HMS Lusitania, I believe it would probably be technically called. Now, the Lusitania was sunk, which was part of the reason World War I started. It was a postcard size or smaller menu. So look for the small menus because some of those are older and they'll be worth far more. The older it is, the menu, the smaller it is. So when you see a big menu, it's usually 30s or later, usually. When you see the postcard size, it's 20s or before, usually. They're small. They're small. Most of the early postcards are small. I run into Victorian trade card, like baseball card size menu cards from events that go back to the 1860s. So the older back they are, the smaller they are in many cases. It doesn't negate, the price being reasonable on them. Now, this isn't from a hotel or anything like that where there'd be a massive amount of collectors. Now, obviously, there's a massive amount of collectors for military items. So this is obviously from the ship itself, USS New York. But if you look at it, it's not actually from on the ship. It's from the crew of the ship because it's got 96th Street, New York, New York. So either they were docked, I'm not sure if that would be a dock area, harbor, or something like that. But either way, it's got a land location on it. It's not at sea. It doesn't say Manila or something like that. Most of the earlier ones, if they've been a menu card for being at sea, are going to say that. So this isn't worth anywhere near as much as something that would be from, taken during the voyage itself. Another aspect on this military item is that it's not from a war. Items between wars will always be less than items during the war. If this was from 1918, it was, during World War I, it would be worth much more. If this was World War II, during the war, it would be worth more as well. But again, this isn't off between wars. It's just some random activity they were doing, probably like a test or training or something. They probably, docked. People had harbor leave or whatever the case may be, and they had the dinner for everybody on the ship. This could also just be dinner for the officers. So, I mean, it's the typical candied sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, stuffed olives, oyster dressing, which was big popular back in those days. Most people don't even know what oyster dressing tastes like, but it's actually pretty good. But anyway, roast turkey. So it's typical. And you know it's a special event. They've got cigars. I would probably say this is for the officers' mess. That would be my assumption. They're not going to give a standard sailor on a huge ship like the USS New York just a card like this. Now look at the menu condition as well. It has stains all over it. It probably sat at a table. So I, discounted that. I didn't even pay attention to that. It's obviously listed as having issues and the whole works. It also has some massive creasing here on the left side, as you can see. So it's not in super condition. But again, I sold it for $30. I'm happy with $30 on something like that. This item here wasn't up very long either. It's new scan and the whole works. So again, this is another one of those items. Whenever you look through postcards or anything, look for some of the small menus as well. They will go every bit as good as the large menus, and in most cases, the earlier ones will go for far better than the newer menus. Now, so anyway, pay attention, look out for these menu cards. Now, this could be a postcard too. I've run into many postcards that were menus as well. You will see that. You will see an address. There'll be a menu on one side of the postcard and then an address underneath where the postmark is. Those menu cards are good as gold as well too. So if you're looking through a bunch of postcards, look out for those as well. Now, since we're on postcards, let's look at an interesting one here and give you some more thoughts on postcards. Now, this postcard here, to, novice may seem newer looking at it because of the style. It's just an advertising piece. Now, one big special part about this postcard, it's a real photo. This is actually a photo. And knowing that this is a photo, you can come down here as well. Look at the phone number. The phone number is Yukon 6-4224. When would have that phone number been used? 30s, 40s probably. You can check that as well by the girl's bathing suit. That's probably when this is from. It's from California. Now, most San Francisco postcards you run into will not be worth hardly anything. They mass-produced almost every single postcard you run into from California that's like a chrome or printed or linen. Obviously, there are some that are worth some money. But real picture, real photo postcards from San Francisco, for the most part, may get you 10 or 15. Something scarce, something unique, something like this right here, sold for $127 and some change. Now, I had it on sale. I took an offer on it. Again, 3X is what I expect on this. I figured I'd get close to 100. I got 127 and some change for this postcard. Now, let's show you the back too. You can date it to 30s or so. By the way, the back mark is 30s through 40s on this one here. It is a real photo postcard as well. This is a real photo postcard back for this type of postcard. So again, I've got correctly dated RPPC Gabriel Molin Studios, San Francisco, Cal, vintage postcard. It's in the vintage postcard section as well. It has some minor age. It's unused. Excellent sale here. I paid $1 for this. This was $1 purchase. This was $1 purchase from another dealer. So I do buy from people in antique malls without any consideration. If the card's good, I'm going to nag it up for $1, $2 at the most usually. Cards like this are usually missed because people think they're just mass-produced junk. Now, I've run into many different cards that were real picture, real photo postcards that were advertising like this. This studio spent some big money to have this card set up, in my opinion, with their information, the line, the photo, the whole works. So this is a prime example of one of those advertising postcards to look for. You're going to find a bunch of stuff like this if you dig through enough postcards. I would have spent $10 on this card. Let's just put it that way. And I almost never spend that kind of money on any postcard. But these advertising ones from California for a studio are awesome. The last big high dollar Lake Tahoe card I sold had printing on the front like this. It was an RPPC, of course, but it was a studio card. And that, again, is what sold it. Anytime you see a studio advertising of any kind, I don't care if it's a clothing studio, an art studio, any type of a business that does any type of design work themselves, it's a real photo picture postcard, I do phenomenally well with them. I never, ever, ever have an issue selling these. By the number, it wasn't up a super long time either. So again, these aren't necessarily you're going to sell them tomorrow, you're going to sell them next month. 90 days, 60 days at most, these sorts of things do sell for me. And they sell for good money. $127 is not bad at all for something like this. Now, I get asked on tickets all the time. Constantly asked on tickets. Now, many people may not pay a close attention to what's going on. This right here is a ticket. Very obviously a ticket. It's well made. This is a very expensive ticket. This item here probably cost $5 to the person back in the what year is this one? 1884. If you look here, it says Masquerade Ball on here. Helvetia, MR, Core. Now this is the choir from, I think, Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is a group that was running some show here, and this is a ticket to their Masquerade Ball. It's got a clown in there. Well, quite a few clowns, obviously. The clowns are a big part of this. Now, filling in the title on something like this, you can see the title. Unfortunately, I didn't put clowns in here because I didn't honestly have room. Now, obviously, I could have probably removed the comma and stuff, but I don't like to muddy up the title too much. Now, one key factor on this being a ticket as well, if you look on the right side, it may be a little hard to see here, but it has serrated edges like a postage stamp, so you could just tear this off the other part. Big ticket. But again, these were like $5 back then, which would be like 100 or more, maybe a couple $100 for all I know. This is only made for someone of the very wealthiest family back in the day back then. Now, I had a bunch of these. I've made $2,700 profit off of this ticket lot here. Don't always assume a ticket's going to look like a modern ticket. The ones I make the most money off don't look like a ticket to most people. This was in with a postcard lot, or at least we found a bunch of these mixed up in a big, huge section, a box section of postcards. Again, estate sale, I believe this one came from. Now, I've had this up for a little while. Again, we listed some immediately. I sold a whole bunch right off the bat. We made like $1,500, $1,600, and I've sold another $1,200 since then. It's all profit at this point. I've got almost nothing into the original purchase. We bought a whole bunch of postcards, probably about 40 or 50 actual tickets like this, and I don't think I spent more than $40 or something. Probably got 600-700 decent postcards, and then 40 or so of these types of items. Again, don't look at tickets just as they have to look like a ticket. Again, I could have probably run into this at an antique mall, and someone may not even have noticed the printing on there. The information isn't very clear. It's light. There's nothing on the back. There are no numbers on this. So, you know, there's no, like, ticket number or anything else like that. And that's what most people are looking for. It's got most of the correct information. It's got the date, the time. But again, it's written small. It's comparatively to the size of the card, it's really small. I figure someone just didn't notice it. They looked at it quickly, didn't pay much attention. It doesn't look like anything else other than possibly a blanked back postcard, and that is it. Again, it's a super price in my opinion. $150 for this card. I marked it down, ran a discount, and the person who bought it's been buying from me for like 6 or 7 years. In fact, I do believe they bought one of these other ones a few months back as well. So it's a perfect sale. Now, I showed this next one here as well just the other day. I think we got like 68 or something like that for it. This is another ticket. Now, unfortunately, the person who listed it missed the word ticket in this, but still, I had the opportunity. It was an offer from a watcher on this one here. It doesn't look like a normal ticket. It doesn't even say ticket on this one, as you can see here. It just says souvenir. But if you look down here, Department of Admissions, entrance to the park, entrance to the exposition. It has a number on it as well. So that's all key part information here. Looking at it on the left side, Souvenir of San Francisco Day. A lot of expositions have like a day for, like Chicago Day at the Chicago World's Fair, meaning that anybody from living in Chicago can come into the fair at a reduced rate is usually what happens. Here in my local area, the Toledo Zoo offers free entrance before 12 every Monday of the week to anybody from Lucas County, the county that I live in, because that's the county that the zoo's in. So if you want to get into the zoo for free, you come in before 12 on Monday, and off you go right into the zoo. It's the same basic principle here. Obviously, they charge because it's a massive place. But again, these are the types of tickets that are going to be worth far more than anything else you're looking for. Obviously, a football game or something could be a little different, but overall, I find far more of these fancier tickets than I find of more modern-day tickets that are worth less. Disney tickets obviously would be a little different because Walt Disney World original entrance tickets like the numbered or the lettered A, B, C, D and all of those sorts are worth some pretty darn good money. As I've shown, I've had, I think, every Disney ticket you could imagine I've had in the past. We worked there. I could even swap out. Sometimes people would hook us up with vintage tickets and all sorts of things too. So tickets in general, pay attention to, but don't assume they all have to look like a modern day ticket. Neither of these look like a modern day ticket at all. That's the key here. Don't assume that it's not a ticket by a quick look at it. Most earlier tickets or I guess expensive tickets look expensive. They look fabulously designed like this one here. If you're interested in, like, say, Disney tickets, Disney has complimentary tickets that are, I mean, they have gilt all over them. They're just wonderful artwork across the face. You can find some on eBay as well. Even if they've been used, you will still find them selling for decent money. The nicer the ticket, the better the event the ticket was for, usually. Again, this is, you know, like a couple $100 probably to get into this Masquerade Ball. Any of the Masquerade Ball tickets you can usually get $50 to $75 for. Bare bones, bottom minimum on these sorts. Now, I know there's going to be some folks that are saying, well, how in the heck can I find something like that? I found them by just digging through junk after junk after junk. I've had many, many different tickets in my day. I don't just look for tickets, though. When I'm outsourcing for any of these items that I'm showing you here, it's whatever happens to show up. If somebody calls and says, hey, I got a whole bunch of early business cards, some from other countries, I'm going to go take a look at it. I don't know what's going to be there. I never know what to expect on any of these items. I'm always open to buying pretty much anything. Paper, if it's paper, I know I'm going to want it better than anything else because of space, time, and the time it takes to actually list it. It takes nothing to list this. This was taken with our camera, so that tells you this was up for a little while. I don't use the paper. I don't put the measurements in any of my listings. This is the first image here. This was actually photoed, and instead of rephotoing it or scanning it, we just enlarged a copy of the original picture. I might have been able to saw it a little more with a better picture, but the person who bought it, I'm sure, dug in, looked into it very, very closely. I've talked to this person dozens of times because they have questions. Constantly somebody will ask us questions on some of these items. So look outside the box. Old newspapers, everybody just assumes are like, you know, town newspapers. You've seen me sell newspapers from ships. Every ship in the Navy from World War II all the way back published newspapers just for the ship. I think every single steamship line I've ever seen, including the White Star, the Titanic line, published daily newspapers on the ship. Small, they're just like 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with 4 sides. It's folded. What would that be? It would be 17 by 11 or so inches or something along that line. And they fold them once, and it's a 4-page newspaper. That's usually what you see. And again, most every ship out there has printed them at one point. They printed menus on board the ships, as you can see, the menu I showed you as well. These are all things that are outside the box, but they're common items. Tickets are common. Business cards are common. Menus are very, very, very common. And luggage labels or stickers like this are extremely common. They still make them today. So there was tens of millions of almost any of these printed at most times, at least the more common ones. This one, there may have been a couple 100,000 or something. Obviously, they produced them in mass quantity. Are you going to find every one of these items all the time? No, of course not. I might not find a China item but once or twice a month if I'm lucky. Maybe a month before I find another one. But that's not always. I'm not just going out looking for business cards. I'm not just going out looking for labels. I'm not just going out looking for tickets or RPPCs or something like that. I'm just overall looking for anything vintage and paper. That's it. That's all I really care about for the most part. If toys are there, I'm fine with buying those. Old photos, I'm fine with buying those. Board games, I'm fine with that. Anything that's of value. Don't just center in on one item specifically. Obviously, a niche is super, super important, in my opinion, if you're going to sell vintage, because it's going to garner you the most important aspect of selling in a niche, which is repeat business. Selling more than one item to the same person over and over again as well is key, is super, super important. I can't stress that enough. If you sell just everyday items, every sale you have is almost always going to be a one-off every single time. And it's hard to attract business when you're only doing one-offs. It's hard to keep customers coming back when you're only doing one-offs. So you could be sticking in cards saying, hey, come back and check out what else I get. You may only get one item in their size once every other month, so it's not even going to be worth it. Even if they do come back, if you don't keep stocking with stuff they want, they won't come back anymore. But if you're doing niches, you're going to get repeat business. So even if eBay isn't showing you, you're going to get repeat business from the folks who already know who you are. That's the biggest factor in here. Don't just say, I'm only going to look for postcards. I'm only going to look for this. I'm only going to look for that because Don says they get a lot of money out of these. I look for everything in my repertoire. Everything. I don't care what it is. If something piques my eye or piques my interest, I look it up if I don't know, and I buy it if it's worth something. If it's too big or I don't want to mess with shipping it, I worry about storing it, it's fragile like glass and stuff, I almost never buy that. I've got the choice. Sure, I could pass up glassware or china that's worth good money, but if it's not going to be a quick mover, I don't want to hang on to it. I don't want to take up space, because space-wise and list time-wise is an important aspect here. If I buy a vase, chances are I've got to take 6-7 photos to get it from every angle, every side, show any imperfections or anything else like that in it. It's going to take up a spot on a shelf that I'm not going to be able to put anything on top of it. I can't stack on top of a vase. It's if I put it in like a little drawered cabinet or something like that to store it, I can only limit that cabinet drawer to so many items because they're big items. In that same space, one vase could take up, and I may only get $70 for the vase, and it may sit for a while. I could have listed a couple thousand or more pieces of paper and sold dozens and dozens of them, and far outweighed the sale of the vase. So I pass up stuff just because of factors of storage, factors, even sometimes shipping, but not usually, of shipping. And, you know, what else could I fit there? Is it going to sell? Is it going to be worth my while to mess with a vase when I might only get $70 or $50? If it's small enough, sure, I'll mess with it, but just take some of this into thought. Don't just assume you have to be, you know, buying one specific item or anything else like that. I get this question all the time. What should I buy? Should I just mess with this? Now, I say don't just buy everything in sight and just randomly drive around and hope to find something. Obviously, you can do good on that too, but you're going to run out of stuff to buy. You're going to be going to the same locations. You're not going to be thinking outside the box. You're never going to break the habit if you want to get into niches. And I can't stress enough, our business changed drastically once we started centering in on specifics. I've got thousands of postcards, thousands of pieces of paper and business cards, thousands of labels, thousands of photos, tens of thousands of buttons. You name it, I've got it. I've got hundreds and hundreds of menus and placemats and all sorts of different things. I could just go on and on with the bulk items that we have. So I'm looking for a huge, broad range. If you're just trying to get into the niche market here, start off small. Still do your normal stuff, but spend a few extra minutes or stop at a certain place where there's a potential to get a niche in it. Put, you know, maybe 5% of your entire store, try to center in on niche markets to start with, and then work it up from there. If that niche starts to take off, or you keep getting more and more of those items and the sales keep going up, you can slowly transition away from the items that are long tail, that are one-offs, and work yourself into niches where you're going to have a far better return on your investment. My biggest return, ROI, on anything is from the paper and the vintage stuff. Every single time. Buttons, paper, and stuff like that. Records are like that. I can get records in bulk. I can get postcards in bulk, photos, menus, matchbooks, pens. Geez, almost anything I get, even toys, action figures, die casts, coloring books, sheet music, film, 8mm, slides I can buy 10,000 at a time. I mean, geez, there's just everything I sell I can buy in bulk at some point, somewhere, pretty much exclusively. I I've got a flea market coming up here, coming up soon. I think it's on the 11th. I'm taking a camera and my son's going with me. We're going to shoot some video, and I'm going to try and show you some haggling, and we'll address dealing at places like that too, trying to get the best stuff when you're scanning like a booth and stuff like that. I'm going to look at and show you scanning, and the whole works coming up here. It'll be shot and you'll see it after the 11th, but it's a 2-day event where we'll probably go both days, get a lot of footage. So anyway, that's about it for today. I really want this to dig in. Again, I've got nothing into these cards, $1 or so or less for any one of these things pretty much that I'm showing you up here. I bought them in bulk. I priced them super, super high. They sold for some good money. Items you saw me list, so you know they weren't up very long. Already, like on business cards, over 300 return. I got, I don't know, 20 or some odd bucks, whatever I got out of the print ad, and I already turned down money on those. In fact, I've turned down 5 or 6 offers from one person on the business cards, and somebody else offered me 25 to 30 bucks on every business card that was from China I listed as well, too. So I turned them all down. I just, honestly, in fact, I didn't turn them down, I should say. I countered back at like 110 or something like that. I knocked off like 35 bucks. Now, they didn't take any of those offers, but then the very next day, this guy bought $300 worth. Now, if I took those offers for 25 to 30 bucks on the business cards, I would have barely got what I got here from just 4 of the cards. So again, don't be in a rush to sell them if you can afford to sit on them. If you can't, take the offers. There's nothing wrong with taking a lower offer because you need the funds coming in. Nothing at all. I did that all the time when we first started. So anyway, I'm going to let you go. Hope you all have a good day. Hope everything is going well for you.